You were talking about the
And
Gospel
I
of the
think
Essenes.
there's some documents, right, that were found in these caves, and they talk about parasites. And so they basically, in that document, say that parasites are from Satan, from the dark.
Here we go. First episode, first podcast. Thank you so much, Kobe.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Fun.
First episode of the podcast. You're with Dr. Koby Taylor. I am so happy to have you on. You've done the Parasite detox twice now.
Yes.
And when we discussed it, you had so much to say about what you went through. And I loved it because you went through Herc syndromes. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I remember, really started implementing the enemas that are so important and the colonic that you were able to really get all that out.
And eliminating things.
Oh, yeah. And eliminate. It was the fruit diet, huh? That really, too, also.
Yeah. And I was I was skeptical. I'm an analytical guy, right? I'm in science. I like science.
You're a compounded pharmacist. Let's throw that in.
Compounding pharmacist. And I thought, this seems kind of woo-woo, weird. Like, what am I getting myself into? Seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of intense.
Yeah.
This seems crazy.
Like, why is everyone doing this? Let's see.
Lots of bells and whistles, and maybe the parasites telling me not to do it because they didn't want to die. But I think...
Had you done the parasite cleanse before?
Probably. I've done other things in parasites. So from a compounding perspective, we make ivermectin and nitazoxamide and mebendazole. And so we have therapies that we use that treat. And I've done some natural tinctures, even like wormwood and different things. So I've played around with binders and different things. I do a lot of healthy conversations around gut health and helping people heal their gut.
Yeah.
I do think that a lot of disease starts in the gut. And so there's a lot of connections. Our immune system is inherently built in the gut and how we function and thrive.
Yeah.
So my own personal journey, like what made me who I am, I think it's my own health, right? It's like no one cares more about your health than you do.
Right.
And I wasn't getting well with traditional standard care. It just wasn't working. And I'm a pharmacist and I'm frustrated that the drugs I'm using.
Ask you what your symptoms were building up to be?
Yeah. So I was overweight. My hair is falling out. I'm not sleeping. I've got horrible panic attacks and anxiety, severe cramping. So like debilitating cramping where the worst is like when my arms like fold in and I'm like,
they just lock up.
And I'm like, Charlie horses, but at a level that like most people are like, they don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just like,
you can't break free of it.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was doing Charlie horses every day, headaches and nausea.
So much stress on the body.
And so, you go to providers to say, tell me what's wrong. And it was frustrating because you'd go to a gastroenterologist and they'd say, everything looks good. And I'd be like, well, what is it? And then I went to a pulmonologist and I've kind of bobbed around from different specialties and I haven't really ever figured out. And so I started being like, there's got to be a reason or what's causing it.
Yeah.
And initially too, I just assumed, you're just getting older or it's just part of life or you're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like those answers. I wanted solutions.
Yeah. And you want to feel good.
And I want to feel good.
And we can.
Have vitality.
I think we all feel that, and we know we can feel good inside.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people lose hope.
Yeah.
Because they feel like there's nothing they can do. There's nowhere to go. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. At one point I was suicidal.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors that come into that. Your life experiences of going through a divorce and childhood trauma,
the conditions and cycles and patterns, and they keep compounding and compounding and compounding. And then you work and you work and you work and you're just trying to do life. And then all of a sudden you realize you don't feel good anymore.
Right. And you're thinking I'm not going to go through a midlife crisis. And you're like, I'm in a midlife crisis. I'm like, I don't know what I'm I don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
I feel like everything is like, I don't know what I even believe because it feels like all the things I thought don't seem to be working. And where I put all my energy and focus has made me, I think, sicker.
Yeah.
And I started seeing people, anymore. Even in the pharmacy, just thinking like, I've dispensed this medicine for 20 years. And I'm like, and I'm friends with that person.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're better for it.
Right.
And I'm like, did I contribute to that? Did the medicine, you know what I mean? And it's like, you see side effects and and sometimes we forget about those things. And
how long have you been a pharmacist?
I became a pharmacist in May of 2000.
So a while, 25 years.
But I've been in pharmacy probably about 6 years before that.
Okay.
It's about 30 years.
So you've seen a lot. You've prescribed a lot. You've seen a lot of medications, a lot. What works, what doesn't work. People getting better from things. People are getting sicker. Ultimately,
Trends,
what?
Right.
Yeah.
You see drugs come and go and side effects.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And, it's chemistry, right? Our body's a chemical machine. And so if you look at pathways and things, your body needs things to heal.
Yes.
And so it needs nutrients. And I do believe that the body has pathways. There are paths to wellness, and it's a complex system. And most people need a guide or an advocate or somebody. But when you really say, when you talk to somebody who, has a horrible condition like cancer or some, disease or autoimmune or thing, and then you see that somebody gets well. Yeah. And you say, well, how did you get well?
Yeah.
It's usually a multifaceted thing. It's not just a one thing.
It's not just the physical.
No.
It's mental, spiritual, emotional.
And so you see that somebody that's open to kind of looking at the whole package, the whole picture.
Yeah.
And, I wish the answer was so simple that you could just say this one thing. But I haven't found the one thing.
Okay.
And if somebody found it, I think they would be a billionaire, right? But
I feel
and everybody would know about it. But.
Yeah, physically there's like not just like that magic pill like we were talking about earlier before we started recording, but I feel the magic thing emotionally, of course we know is love.
Right.
And I think also forgiveness. That really helps the body cleanse itself. Then once you have those two, let's piece together the physical so that then the mental can be well and we can digest life in all of the ways, not just physically, like in every way, in every moment we've lived in and everything we've had to see, hear, feel, touch, experience, whether it was good, bad, hurtful, or joyful. And I think people don't realize that when they're trying to get well, that you really have to go into the heart space, the memories, the past trauma that hurt you, that you want to hold on to and not cry about and just have anger maybe for. I know I've had to learn so much into my anger and how to let go and what it was showing me and what boundaries to set in order to really let go of the huge parasites that were inside of me. I worked through so much anger every detox. Ultimately just cried and cried and cried and cried and found rebirth. Yeah. So bringing in all of the elements, it's important.
And I love information, right? I love even experiences. I love to hear how someone got well and ask a lot of questions. Like,
and you work one-on-one with people all day long, so you get to hear
constantly about what's their journey, what's their path, what worked for them, what didn't.
Yeah.
And because there's no prescription drug, there's no over-the-counter drug that works for everybody.
Right.
It just doesn't. Some people have side effects. Some people are allergic. Some people can't take certain things.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to do, and that's the beauty of compounding, is that you're customizing something or figuring out a way to deliver something in a different way
to help them a little deeper, get a little layer.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I think too. Speaking into the quick fix, and a lot of people avoid this one, but fasting, like even the word fasting, right? It's a quick fix and fasting. Sure. The body can focus directly on the disease and just cleanse it out. But it's so interesting how so many people aren't able to stop feeding the mouth because they need a constant nourishment and really to feel nourished. What does that look like when you want to piece in together the emotional part of it and the mental part of it, not just the food? Are you feeling nourished? And what aspects of your life aren't? And even as I talk about it, my hunger in my stomach starts to growl, right? You just like the body just responding so instantly to, that. So I think diet change is one of the quickest ways to fix, but it's really hard. And so then you want to utilize drugs and keep the diet. But ultimately what's going to regenerate the body, change.
It's the change.
Yeah, the change.
And I think that there's an ebb and flow. I think, and research is kind of starting to show this, is that there's a time and a season for things.
Sure.
And so we 200 years ago, we ate in season. And you had things. When you were a kid, you ate cherries, and cherries came on. You ate as many cherries as you possibly could until you either vomited or had diarrhea. You might can a few.
Yeah.
But you didn't eat cherries year round.
Right.
Now I can go anywhere and I buy cherries every day of the year pretty much, because they're coming from somewhere in the world or other things. But that's not a natural thing. And genetically, we're not really designed to eat an apple every day. It's a good marketing slogan, campaign.
Yeah, sure.
But my body becomes intolerant to the thing because I've got too much of it. And I get an imbalance or overgrowth of the bacteria that like that thing or the parasite that likes that thing.
That part.
The rotation and the change and the shifting. That's why every single diet has positive research, whether it's vegan, carnivore, whatever. FODMAP, Paleo, Mediterranean, South Beach has positive research.
We got to
so it's confusing as a consumer.
Truly the process.
Right. You say, which diet's right? It's so confusing. There's too much information. There's all these things and everybody has something and they're trying to sell me and they're telling me.
What's amazing, this is what we know is the body is just water and 27 different minerals, right? So we can able to regenerate the body so systematically, easily, if you can feed it really right. But if you're going to be eating meats and you're cooking your meat, then you're just creating more glycation into the body, right? And then you're changing the compounds of everything if you're cooking your food. So you're actually not absorbing any nutrients in that way. If you're going to eat the food in the season that it's in, you need to be eating it raw if you're going to actually be getting the nutrients that you want. Otherwise, it's your body having to process something. And then you take on, that's when it starts compounding. And the parasites, they start to feed off of so easily.
That's right.
The cooked foods and the processed foods, they love it.
Meat.
Right? So changing the diet is super essential if you want to change yourself. I believe in my theory.
If you want to have longevity and shift and change things, and recognizing there's a time and a season for that. And you can shift and change as you go through that. Yeah,
absolutely. Tell me about, did you do all fruit when you did the diet?
Yeah. And it was hard.
Yeah.
Day 3, I think I even talked to you and said, oh my gosh, I want to chop my arm off and fry it up. I even went to the cupboard and got that Montreal salt and put on the steak. And I'm like licking my hand and trying to eat it. And I was like, this is hard.
The parasites
were
dying
so bad.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've never in my life probably not eaten meat every day. So
isn't it wild?
It's crazy that you're there in 3 days. I was like, what in the world? Like,
you'll do
why?
anything for it. And you're just like, oh.
And if it wasn't doing colonics, I probably would have cheated, to be honest. Because I knew that you were going to go look at my,
and I would know if you ate a steak.
I would be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to hide it. So I'm like, she's going to know. But I was like, so if I didn't have that accountability, I probably would have just cheated and lied and been like,
okay, look at you. I love that you're being so authentic and vulnerable. Yes.
So
it's hard. I know.
It was hard.
It's hard.
And so, but by day 5, I didn't, some of the cravings eased up. And so I was like, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
How, and it's interesting too, like the mantras.
Yes.
I thought, you go through these different mantras and these different days, and I'm like, who mapped this out or who knows this? This is just, come on, really? And yet, like on anger day or liver day or whatever, I'm like, I'm sitting on that colonic machine and I'm like, I've never been so angry. And I couldn't really pinpoint why I was angry.
Right.
But yet all this anger is coming up with me. Right. And then as stuff released, all of the anger is going away. And I'm thinking, and I leave and I'm thinking like, and I tell people about it and they're just like, they kind of look at you like you're crazy. And I'm like, if I hadn't experienced it for myself, I wouldn't believe it. It's like to see stuff come out of you.
Yeah.
And I've had multiple doctors tell me that I don't have parasites and I'm American and
I've had doctors tell me that there's no such thing.
This doesn't exist, and this isn't real, and doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, once you see a tapeworm, you see a tapeworm.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're like, no, that's real.
I didn't eat that.
A big white worm. And if if it's that big, it's been in you since you're a child.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
So then you're thinking like, I'm like, clearly there's things in there that I'm like.
Right, lifelong.
Because I've had endoscopies and colonoscopies. And people gone and looked, and I'm like thinking, where is
Why do you think they keep all of that knowledge and information of parasites? Why don't you think they research that as much? I mean, I know they do, and I know there's plenty of people that are, and obviously that's why we're here, but it doesn't seem to be
I don't know,
such a forefront.
It's not on the forefront of things.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's like I don't know. Some of the things I think is that I think the parasite it's a darker energy, or even it has a consciousness. It's alive. It's a living thing. Like an amoeba. And we know
through science
is alive.
It completely hacks your neural pathways.
And we are starting to see connections in research. Like, so Candida, for example, we know downregulates the dopamine and serotonergic pathways, meaning it increases or makes it more likely to have ADD or depression.
And Candida feeds the most off of sugar.
And it's feeding off of sugar.
Yeah.
So when there's an imbalance to those things, they're contributing to or making some of those symptoms worse. And so if I'm genetically already prone to that, or I've got a family history of that, or genetically, there's all these factors and things that are weaving together to make you who you are.
Right.
And every person's unique.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
So good.
Because you're genetically
things.
different. Your experiences in life are different. How you look at things are different. And we all want to try to be the same. And so it makes sense that maybe the path to wellness for each person may be a little bit different, because you have to unwind some of the
you have to unwind that genetic trauma, that generational blame and judgment that has been for how long, who knows, but now it's in your blood. It's been passed down to you along with the bacteria and the parasites.
Change occurs when somebody wants to look at something and say, oh, I would like the awareness, right? Because and it's not even necessarily that something's wrong. It's just that I'd like to do it different, or I'd like to have a different experience, or I'd like to look at it a different way.
Yeah. And
you can fight and have contention and do it, but it's like I'm learning more and more that I like to use kind of the difference between using or and. I'm like, is it possible that I can say and that may also be true, rather than say or? Because we always say, oh, it can't be this or this.
Yeah.
And I say, well, what if it's both are? It's just I don't understand how they connect or how they interweave. And
absolutely.
So it's like
just to theorize on everything. And I love that. Knowing that everything we've ever known or been taught has been somebody's theory somewhere, and they've written it down for us to learn from. So keep theorizing on all of it and piecing it all together. And like even just in medical astrology, just like working with someone and wanting to know even just those little pieces and all of it, to know what made Koby, and how can we assist in his healing more, and what other things, So, When
you go back and you look at things and you look at, like ancient texts, right? So you look at old things.
Yeah.
So if you look at, I've gotten kind of into, I'm very passionate about Jesus.
Yes.
I think Jesus is a cool dude.
Yes.
And I think that a really bright light that came to earth and did a lot of really cool things and has a lot of really cool promises.
You were talking about the Gospel of the Essenes.
There's some documents, right, that were found in these caves, and there's some debate about who wrote them, where'd they come from.
Yeah.
But as I've been studying those, they've been translated, and I really found that there's some interesting things in there. They talk about parasites. And so they basically in that document say that parasites are from Satan, from the dark.
Yeah.
It's the way that they actually control or send thoughts to you
Yeah.
through negative vibrations and energy.
And they feed off death.
Feed off death.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting that it's talked about kind of in a scripture or in this Sanskrit that you're like looking at and you're thinking like, this is really an interesting concept. And they even talk about doing enemas where they take a gourd and they hollow it out and they do an enema.
In the ancient ways and tradition, how to do that.
It's like over 2,000-year-old text that's written in like a kind of like scripture format.
Yeah.
And so you think, well, and some would say, well, is that true? Is it not? And I'm always like, well, for me, like I grew up believing that I can always ask if something's true. And so for me, it's like, I feel like there's some truth to these things. So I'm, and it's what does it mean to me today? Yeah. And how do I apply that? Yeah. But it's interesting that I went through and did a parasite cleanse and did an enema and did these fruit diets. And it's probably one of the most impactful things that I've done to my health. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. The thing that happened that I really didn't expect was some of these negative thoughts and chatter and self-doubt. Yeah. Just the amount of thoughts, negative thoughts that I had decreased. Yeah.
The parasites that are hacking your neural pathways are now dead. And not being able to.
I wasn't expecting that. We didn't even talk about that. Yeah. You didn't say that up front. It's not like on your website or any of these things. So I wasn't really, sometimes I was like thinking like, this is so crazy. And what really made it about is when I started to read the Gospel of the Essenes and it's talking about all of this thoughts coming through the thing. Like, oh gosh, if there's less parasites, there's less thoughts. There's less.
Yeah. Less, give me this, give me that. I need this. And if I don't, the emotions, right? And then we get charged up when we're not feeding because we need. And it's like, no, you're good. You're good. Right. We're nourished. We're fine. And let the body heal itself for a minute, let the food go and let the parasites die. So that, you can reintroduce new and let new things happen and new conditions happen and new experiences happen. So you can let go of the old. It feels so good to be able to let go of old thought processes and have new ones. To actually just feel anew, be anew, and it's a rebirth. It feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it really made a huge difference. And some people say like, are all parasites bad? And I'm like, that's an interesting question. Maybe some are good. I don't know. There's good bacteria, bad bacteria.
I have a theory on that.
I don't know. Do you?
Yeah. I like, the parasites that are found in soil that are growing the fruit in the earth, the little earthworms and all that. And, I feel like they're like happy. And, the ones that are found in fruit, I think are a lot different than the ones that are feeding off of dead flesh, the ones that are inside feeding off of organs. And that, when somebody dies or something dies, it's eaten from the inside out. You have maggots and parasites all over. I think there's a difference between the meat parasites, the fish parasites, as far as the negativity also concerned, because they're feeding off of death and they're feeding off of organs and they're feeding off your blood, versus the parasites that are in a banana maybe or in an apple that are living in the soil with the sun. I think there's definitely good bacteria and bad bacteria and those ways.
We know we're seeing that more in the research. There's less research on parasites. There's more research on bacteria. We know that there's good and bad bacteria.
Yes.
We know, inherently simply, like a bad bacteria steals nutrients. So somebody who has limes has a really hard time pulling out nutrients. They become magnesium deficient because lime just eats all the magnesium.
It's the hardest.
It's really hard to treat because even the key nutrient that the person needs to function is being stolen. And so even if I eat it, I just grow more of the freaking lime. And so how do I feed the body? How do I get that part in? And that's where, I like magnesium going on the skin or a different way to put it, bypassing it. Again, how do I deliver a nutrient or a medicine or something a different way so that it doesn't get taken or stolen? Or how do I make sure I'm digesting or those things right?
Yeah, they're smart. They hybrid themselves. They're smart. If you take too much of something, even the parasite tincture for too long, they learn how to immune themselves to it. So you have to take breaks, and then flood the system with vitamin C instead, and then take a break, flood the system with quercetin and take a break, flood the system then again with parasite tincture and take a break to keep the game up because it's a computing system. They're so smart.
Right.
And they're trying to outlive you.
They're trying to adapt.
They're trying to,
And most things, honestly, don't want to kill the host.
Yeah.
They want you to live.
You think?
But just a modified thing.
That's the good. I wonder. I think some of them, I'm like, I feel like they're trying to take me over. They're taking me out. No way. But yeah.
But I think it's kind of like a balance, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody has, if you do a gut profile, you'll see that they have E. coli. It just has to be in balance and in check.
Right.
And if you have a good immune system and a good system and your body's functioning correctly, it can keep things at bay. Lots of people walk around with cold sores.
Yeah.
It's a virus and they
say
have it and it stays at bay.
100% of the population has like the herpes virus.
Right. Somewhere, right?
Yeah. Everybody has. Yeah.
It outbreaks or it comes out or whatever. And ultimately your bodies will see it, heal it, fix it.
It's interesting when, some of the, how it will manifest or how it will not, I think depending on experience in life that you're having and how stressful you are or how stressed out you are about the things that are happening in the processes. And I think the external reality is just a real big reflection of the internal of, what's happening inside. And it's an interesting thing. And you so when you did your 10-day parasite detox, the first one was at home.
Yeah.
And you did that home kit. And then the second one, because you had taken a ton of, was it ivermectin?
I did ivermectin.
Yes.
And I did ivermectin and nitazoxamide. And I had, so I got really healthy.
Yes.
Made lifestyle changes, did a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I've been on this journey for a while, functional medicine and nutrition and kind of changing diet and exercise and doing more and more healthy things.
Yeah.
Not perfect. I still like a good cookie sometimes, but French fries. There's a couple of things, my vices. But I've learned, I can't eat it every day. It's not there's balance.
Yeah.
And I was in a pretty good space, feeling pretty good, and I got COVID. And I got influenza actually first, which kind of knocked my immune system down.
Yeah.
And I swabbed people through the things where I was getting exposed all the time. I was in the thick of it. I was sticking that little thing up people's nose and doing it thousands of times.
Okay.
So I'm like, if I wasn't exposed, I'm like, I don't know. And I hadn't had COVID as far as I knew.
Yeah.
Like some people had really mild cases. So I thought, well, maybe, so whatever. But I got influenza and then I got COVID after that. I was in bed for 9 days. Okay. I really thought I was going to die. And I know so many things and did all kinds of things. And I called every person that I could possibly think of. And I know that a lot of that probably kept me out of the hospital and helped me survive it.
Yeah.
But I ended up in long haul. And so I couldn't taste anything for,
I remember
5 months.
I feel like even when we talked about it, you're like, still couldn't taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all come back.
Good.
It's really been interesting.
Good.
But I think I formed because of that, a calcified plaque. The spike protein is really sticky and it causes your blood to thicken. It causes these fibroids and different things and clump. I don't know. It causes disease.
Yeah.
So anytime you see stagnant water, you can see stuff growing it and disease. Like if a river stops and it starts to stagnate, it turns into a swamp.
Yeah.
And then all this yucky, weird moss, gross things start to grow.
And then it starts to become conscious. Right? It starts to form.
Right. So you see that in the body too. So like, diabetes is too much sugar in the blood. It's an imbalance, but it's like Karo syrup. Your body's literally trying to push Karo syrup through your veins instead of, because, if you have a really sugary drink, it gets thick and that's what your blood starts to look like.
Yeah.
So anything that causes thickness or mucus, you think about sinus infections or things that stagnation, disease, pus functions, and the body's immune system is trying to, compartmentalize or shut things down or lock stuff down. And so it's like understanding, and that Eastern medicine talks about all these things. It likes to look at flow and movement and we in Western medicine don't really look at things that way, but that's really trying to get things to move and flow and be healthy. Like we do know that we need good blood flow. If you don't have good blood flow to a foot, then you're going to have your foot cut off pretty quickly. And so it's like, if it gets infected or gangrenous or rotten, right? So it's
the
like
best way to pump the blood through the body. I mean, it pumps automatically, right? The lymphatics don't move, but working out, I think, is so essential to the body and being able to regenerate the body, feel good.
And there's tons of positive research on that.
Yeah,
that shows that if you want to increase longevity, activity is a really big piece.
Yeah.
So, see, where was I? Oh, so my health journey, basically, I ended up having a heart attack from COVID.
Yeah.
Which is really like shocking. I'm 52. I don't have family history of it.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of risk factors. It doesn't really add up. Like it doesn't. And I'd had a full scan 2 years before that. It was completely open and normal. And I wasn't on, like high blood pressure or cholesterol meds and all these different things. I'd actually had gotten healthy and gotten off all that stuff.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I'd gone through some of that and I changed and I actually was able to get off my meds and I was actually feeling really good. And I got COVID and I started having all these symptoms from long haul and different things. And I just over time got winded and I didn't put together that I was having symptoms of heart issues.
Yeah.
It didn't click. And I don't know. It did not, I don't know. Anyway, I ended up with a full blockage in my coronary artery and ended up with 2 stents. And it's amazing. Western medicine saved me and opened up those vessels. And I wouldn't be otherwise.
Wild, right?
So crazy.
I think my dad has like 25.
Oh, wow.
Or even more, like 28. Like it holds the record.
So I'm surprised, but awareness of that. And I'm like, I don't want to do that again. Mm-hmm. And so how do I prevent that? How do I live in a way that doesn't come back?
Yeah.
But the part that led to me getting on some of the meds and my issues with my stomach and things that I've had ever since I've been little. My first scope was when I was 5. So I've had stomach issues for a long, long time, which I actually think is from abuse.
Yeah.
From when I was 3 and on through 3 to about 12. So I think that caused me to worry about things and feel I distorted a lot of things and was not the most fun experience. But I think, and it's taken quite a bit to unwind all that.
Was it regular abuse?
Yeah.
Like constant.
So sexual abuse from my grandpa.
Okay.
So
and then
a lot of trauma from that.
A lot of trauma. And make your whole entire, just child.
How you look at things, how you interact with people, what you consider love is, sexually active way too early because you experienced things you weren't ready to experience or didn't understand or didn't have the perception to process.
And not being able to digest.
Yes.
From infancy,
so because then you're in fight or flight. You're PTSD, worried about things, OCD, all the things. Depression, anxiety from
constant
things and picking up energy. And it's just an interesting, it definitely altered my perception and view of things and made me, in a lot of ways, block off my heart, which is why partly too, emotionally, spiritually, why I got to the place where I eventually had a heart attack with all the stuff. I was prone to it because of the other traumas, I think.
Were you processing that? Have you been processing that up until then? Had done therapies and
hypnotherapy,
all the work?
And I've been in all kinds of different therapies.
Okay, so this was just a deep, deep, deep layer of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good job getting through.
And so that
heart attack
is what, and obviously, it's like a 2x4 across the head that says, oh, you guys, you really need to look at this.
Yeah.
But, so it made me look at stuff in a little different way. And then I ended up with a blood, I got an esophageal tear. I almost lost, almost half my blood bled out. And
how scary in that moment is that for you?
And that I felt worse in that than I did from the heart attack. The heart attack was crazy because they go in and they open it all up. And I woke up in the ICU and was like, oh my gosh, let's go run a marathon. I felt so good because I actually had blood flow and like my brain fog and stuff just all lifted, which I was contributing to the COVID, but I think it transitioned into the heart issues.
Yes. For sure.
And then the bleeding piece, I just,
what is the process in the mind and spirit when you're going through something so intense like that?
So crazy.
That
and you're just your frailty and how, weakness and I don't know. And you focus on all the negative things. I did for a while.
Okay.
So you get down and what you focus on, we create more of.
And that just creates so much depression.
What you resist persists. So you focus on these negative things and all the stuff, and you're going to, everybody in my life's telling me all the things that are wrong with me and all the stuff. And you're just thinking, oh, can I have one more thing wrong with me? I'm just a mess.
Are you so depressed?
Right. And so it's like, is there any reprieve? Is there any light here? Is God real? I don't know. Like you start questioning all kinds of stuff because you're thinking like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying living in this.
And then the kick came along, huh?
Yeah. Well, pretty quickly after that. The reason I did that is I had to go to an allergist. I got diagnosed with an autoimmune EOE from my scope. I had all these scopes because of my tear. And so they said,
for the body.
The universe is such an interesting thing. Because I went to the allergist on the morning before I came to lunch with you to learn about the kit.
Yes.
And so I went to the allergist. He told me that your number one cause of EOE, which is an eosinophilic esophagitis, autoimmune disease, and we treat it. We have compounds and we do different things for that in traditional settings. But he said the number one cause is parasites. And I had already figured out and had done some parasite cleansing because I had already looked at symptomology and said, I really think I have parasites because I noticed around a full moon, which I've never really paid attention to full moons. I thought that's weird. I started I'm like, every time I have a full moon, I am like, I don't sleep. I'm be up, walking, pacing.
Parasites are so active during that full moon.
My ears are warm and hot, and I'm flushing and sweating. My hands are dripping. I'm like, I've got anxiety.
They're
and panic.
Reproducing. They're out playing. Yeah, and you're experiencing all of that.
I'm experiencing all of it, and I'm like reading all the symptoms, and I'm like, well, Dr. Google is kind of pointing toward parasites, to be honest. But then you talk to all my providers and doctors, and nobody knows how to look at parasites or test for parasites or treat parasites very well. Some do, but a lot don't. Yeah. And I didn't. Yeah. I wasn't taught that in school. So I was like, and it's just, what you know. But I just was really surprised because I had done some ivermectin, nitazoxanide, high dose, but I think I killed off a bunch of it and I herxed.
Right.
So Herxheimer reaction is where too much dies, and then I was toxic and I felt so yucky.
So sick because you need to get it out of you. And it's all this inside of you. Yeah.
But I didn't know anything about enemas. I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right. Most people are
I'm not putting something up my butt.
So conditioned to not.
That's no. That's an exit hole, not an entrance. So anyway, I was like, not really like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And
but you aligned to it like so perfectly how you just when we went to lunch you're like I realized I have parasites
and I was like, okay, I don't know, God, the divine, I don't know, like kind of crazy because I'm thinking here I am sitting in front of this parasite thing and I already knew I had it. I just had an allergist tell me the number one cause, although they didn't really know how to test it or treat. And as other treatments. And actually some of those have been helpful. And I'm still using some of those.
What are they?
To manage. So you can do like topical steroids actually have been really helpful. And they don't really absorb a ton, but I do feel like it's helping me heal that tissue that's damaged.
Good.
And trying to help it get back to heal.
Okay.
And so I do feel like I've had some positives from that. And then I did identify that I have an allergy to peanuts. And so, which I didn't realize.
There's so much mold in peanuts.
And so I have to avoid those.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how sick it was making me until I eliminated it. And then I cheated and I sneezed and coughed and I was like, and kind of like itchy. I was like, but I wasn't having that reaction. I've eaten peanut butter every day since I was 2. I just had no idea that peanuts was a problem.
Right.
But now I get just a little sniff of that, and it is like,
your
I'm pretty
body's like,
sensitive.
No, thanks.
And I'm
cleanse that out.
hopeful that someday I'll be able to eat peanuts again someday. Yeah. But for now, it's better for me to not eat peanuts. Yeah. I'm healthier, have less sinus congestion. I feel better if I don't eat peanuts.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I was basically pretty open to whatever crazy thing you told me that day, because I was like, okay, this is not a coincidence. And so I did the cleanse, and it's been, it changed my emotional state, my spiritual state, and my physical state.
Good.
And moved me in a path toward getting back to wellness. And I feel better today than I have probably felt in 25 years.
I love that so much. That speaks volumes. Yeah.
You know, it's not just the one thing, but it's a big impact. Like it really did do. And it's made me, I don't know, I've dove into all kinds of, Gospel of Essenes and all these things. I've gone
and you're pharmacist, so you've like really, I'm using my hands, but I'm like imagining you just trudging through the waters of information of what works, what doesn't, what is this, what is that, and really figuring out.
It's crazy. And at the end of the day, I'm like, is it harmful? Because you see a lot of people say, oh, snake oil, or there's like, so what is this thing, or why would I do it?
Yeah.
And I think, well, does it cause harm? All the stuff's in there. It's very natural.
Yeah.
You know? And again, if you don't, a crystal in there freaks you out, or sage freaks you out, okay, whatever. Don't use it.
Right.
If it doesn't resonate with you, or you don't believe in it, or you don't, it's too, I'll throw it in the garbage. Whatever. Right. But I'm like, but I can tell you that I even it's changed even the way I tell people to use ivermectin and isoxazoline. I'm like, if you can change your diet.
Yes.
Like
that's so much.
It helps a lot. And if you can rinse enema colonic,
well, game changer.
Game changer.
Yeah.
Because that to me, I felt good on the cleanse.
Yeah.
There was days I was like I wanted to eat meat so bad, or I had some cravings and some things.
Well, you were a champ. You even went on a vacation. You had a family vacation for like a couple days on the last
crazy. I was like,
2 days of your cleanse. I'm like,
starting it.
Lake Powell, everyone's going to be eating treats around you, but you did it so good. You're like, no, I'm going to do it.
I was at Lake Powell doing enemas.
And you did it so good.
And my poor, that was not, I don't need to go too good.
We don't have to get into that, but you did it.
I did it, and I went through the thing, and I can tell you, it was impactful. I really, truly, and I tell people about it, and I tell my story, and people are like, I think maybe I should do it. And I have people buy the kit, and it sits on their counter, and they never do
you
it,
carry the kits in the pharmacy.
We do.
Yeah.
We sell them.
Oh, I love that.
And I have other parasite cleanses and other things, and but I still am like, I think there's bottling and push them together, and there's lots of different ways to get there. And if somebody wants to dip their toe in and test it, we can do that, or we can do
make sure they do like an energy work, some therapy sessions in between while you let go of the lifelong
lifelong worms of what. Yeah. And as you see, I mean, you start seeing these things that you got.
They come out of you. You have to see them. I'm like, okay.
So disturbing. And it's made me, it's like, so I wrote an article in St. George Health and Wellness.
Yes.
Like talking about it. You've written some articles too.
Yes.
And a lot of it's just education.
It's been fun to be in the Health and Wellness magazine.
Like, how do you tell people about it and have them be interested in being like, maybe I should try it.
It's so interesting. Most people instantly are so intrigued when they say, what do you do? And we do 10-day parasite and heavy metal detoxing to get out of the waste from the foods that you've eaten over life.
Right.
And people instantly are like, wait, tell me more. What? Because intuitively, the body just is like, hey, that. Because
I talk to people all the time.
The colon.
Guts. And I think a lot of people, that's where it all starts. Is in the gut. And
my theory too.
Heartburn is not a normal state.
Right. No.
Bloating and gas, not normal.
Not normal.
Diarrhea, constipation,
bloating,
not normal.
Gas, parasites,
some people feel like a brick in their. You can feel it in their stomach. Like that does not feel right.
Yeah, those are all symptoms of parasites.
All symptoms of things, and somebody who has all the time constipation. I'm like, you're not detoxing, you're not moving your food, your body's not functioning the way it should. And I quit asking people if they have constipation, because a lot of people would mark no. And then I would ask, well, how many bowel movements do you have? And they're like, oh, 1 every 5 days. And I'm like,
and that's constipation.
That's how my sister and my mom is, or, it comes out like rabbit poop. And I'm like, that's constipation.
Constipation.
And a lot too.
It's dehydration.
Dehydration. We don't get enough electrolytes. We're not eating enough water.
Most electrolytes can be found in celery.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's
just about things. And that's why you see like a celery diet, cleanse, fad, whatever.
Right.
Right.
That's why all the juicing works.
Again, I can't live on that forever, but I'm like.
And you definitely could.
You think so?
I know people that do. So,
well,
and they look like they're 20 years old and they're like 70. So it speaks volumes, I think, to when you can hydrate the body.
Right. Hydration's huge.
Hydration. It's hydrating because the body, all it wants is hydration.
But
That's
your
why
body
we
needs
eat.
to sweat.
Oh, yeah. Right. You have to cry.
And you need to pee.
You have to work out. Right. The biggest, sweat glands are your
lymph systems. Things
and
like
your
that.
eyes. And your armpits. And so if you're not crying, you are going to be sweating, detoxing, or in life, no matter what, if you're not crying about the processes in life that have pained you so that you can get it out and move on.
Right.
And I think a lot when we don't cry gets held in the thyroid. You know, as kids, we cry even using our voice. And then we're taught not to. And we're taught to shut up about it.
Right.
Like, don't cry. And though it's all here, and then the thyroid and the hormone imbalances.
The body's such a fascinating thing.
It's so good.
Yawning.
Right? Yawning. The
Yawning is a shift. It's showing all animals when they go from fight or flight back to calm.
Yeah.
Yawn.
It's
and
so
we
good.
have told people that if you're yawning, that means you're not paying attention and you don't care or you're not interested. When in reality, it means that the person that's sitting there is actually more likely to pay attention because they just shifted from fight or flight back into a more calm state.
Boom.
I can listen and pay attention when I'm calm. If I've got ADD and my brain's on fire, I can't think.
Right.
And I'm going to make a choice. We crave things in the world. We crave sugar or
as my stomach growls.
Sex, heroin, cocaine, crack.
We're always looking at
social
feed,
media,
right? Nourishment,
Facebook,
back to that.
Instagram, TikTok, whatever, Netflixing.
Yeah.
And all of those things are signs that you have an imbalance to your neurotransmitters.
Yeah.
And those are not normal states. It's common, but it does not make it normal.
Yeah.
So it's like, your body does not want to be anxious and I don't want to be in fight or flight.
Right.
And if you're in fight or flight, you don't rest and digest. You cannot process food when you're in fight or flight and have a ton of cortisol. And if your hormones are off and you're imbalanced, your thyroid's off, you can't function. You don't feel good.
It speaks volumes, I think, to even just be able to know and observe yourself when you're in those processes, because I think most people don't even realize when they're in fight or flight are so anxious and like, shutting their system down.
I see it all the time where you have a couple come in and, the one spouse is like, I'm not anxious. I don't have anxiety. I'm not stressed. I'm retired.
Right.
And then their spouse is like,
it's so good.
Rolling their eyes like you're the most anxious person. And you can feel it.
Yeah.
If you can feel energies or you be around people, you walk in a room, you see somebody who's anxious. You're like, everybody around them can feel it as you're like, can I get out of this room? Because I'm like, I can feel your anxiety across the room.
Yeah.
You've got a pen and you're clicky. Like, there's outlets and people are.
Built up emotion in the body. People aren't crying enough. They're not working out enough. Yeah. They're eating too many parasites.
Right.
So, okay.
Imbalance. And you've got stuff that's stealing nutrients.
Yeah.
And so you go and you say, oh, I'm going to do this paleo diet or I'm going to do this Mediterranean diet.
Right.
And you do it for 12 weeks and it doesn't really work and you're frustrated. One, the food's not as good as you think.
Yeah.
Our government isn't doing a great job there. Safe and effective food. We can go a whole lecture on that.
I'm really hoping that, we can go in a different direction with the food in the processed foods here in
And so
America.
our body needs nutrients.
Yeah.
They're inundated with chemicals, inundated with toxins.
And on
then
top
you've got
of that,
all
we're
these
wearing
bugs
microplastics. We're
stealing things
constant.
from us. And so it's like it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's why when I was a kid, I was told to eat 3 servings of fruits and vegetables. We're currently 7. If you've got some type of illness, we say 12.
Yeah.
Well, good heavens, like 12 servings of fruits and vegetables is hard. I have a hard time getting some kids to even eat 1. Fruit Loops is not it. And yet in other countries, Fruit Loops is still made with actual food. Like their dyes are actually made from fruits. I'm like, I'm happier about that than I am like chemicals, Red 40 and other crap that's in
Oh my
there.
gosh, I'm so excited they banned Red. They just banned Red 40 and everybody's so excited.
I don't know.
But I really hope more changes can be happening. And as we bring awareness and consciousness into the things that are not working for our bodies that create the anxiety And yeah, we need to, it would be nice to be able to really have so many more programs for children to be able to process their emotions.
And all the emotions are, like, why is it bad? Why is it bad to cry? Why is it bad to...
I never think it's bad, but society condemns it as this
things where it's like,
perspective that something is wrong and that's not okay. And she's crying, shut her up, like, look at it, whatever, and it's like, let us go through the process.
Let's
hold me, just let me cry. It feels so good.
Stop and hold it. Like somebody who holds their anger in and then snaps.
Right.
That's not the way to release it.
Yeah. I've learned a lot. That's not how we do life. I've had to learn that in such beautiful ways of, it's like this seeing yourself and knowing that is not how you want to ever be seen or feel. And then you have this perspective shift, awareness shift, and you become new and better. But the anger.
The human experience.
So good.
Right.
Koby, and then you just barely did the light frequency bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second.
Wow.
I know. Right before we came here, he went to the plaza and did the Spectra light bed.
Holy cow.
And we programmed it to do so many different things and processes in the body. And then it has 4 different infrared. What was your experience?
Yeah. It was super light. Like you could feel the energy increasing frequency, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm buzzing still from that.
I love that.
I'm in a, pretty happy state, and just lighter, brighter. It's like I'd been in the, in the sun, not in a way that, sometimes you go beat down if you're in the sun too long, but you're like, I felt energized.
Yeah.
Like I've been on the beach, walking on the beach, and just happy go lucky in a pretty quick, fast way.
Were you able to, when you closed your eyes, see the shapes, colors, and patterns of the molecules that were changing?
I could feel like it, I don't even know. I felt a sense of like a cleaning or a cleansing or even like helping get rid of bacteria or shifting things. I don't know.
That's what I feel too when I'm in it. So much light. So much light.
I've done some other therapies. And the devices are much smaller and not nearly that intense. That was a pretty cool, fast. I'm very intrigued.
All right.
I've been researching a lot, again, root cause of disease. Like what causes disease?
Yes.
It's like, I think nutrient deficiency is a piece of it, right? Yeah. Emotional states and different things. There are all these contributing factors to what makes people sick.
Yeah.
And if you look at mitochondria is inside the cell, and it's the powerhouse. It's what provides energy. So it's like how much energy I have or what it is. And that's kids in general have lots of energy because their mitochondria are functioning very well and at full speed. Very, very, very active.
Yes.
And their thought patterns and creativity and what they focus on and what matters to them and all the things, right? It's like they're not bogged down with all the things that we do to stagnate, stop. It's like even the way we have kids try to get them to sit still.
Yeah.
And stop learning or stop experiencing things. It's interesting because I'm like, it causes a lot of
conditioning.
It's conditioning and very hard. And it's like, it's just structures that I'm like, yeah. And it's like, pull back and look at it. So if you look at root cause and you start looking at mitochondrial dysfunction, there's quite a bit of research going into mitochondria and all these different therapies that have a positive effect on the mitochondria. So it's like, how do we get energy to it? How do we methylate? How do we get more information into the mitochondria?
Yeah.
And there's pictures. They've taken pictures, microscopic pictures, where they're showing that as it's making energy, it actually flashes light.
Okay.
And so there's some thought that you could possibly use light to energize things. Like a plant takes on light and can make a leaf and grow.
Yes.
And there are some studies showing that even rods and cones in your eyes and things like that actually absorb the light when you're in it.
Yes.
And it has a positive effect. If I go to, and I just tell people, I'm like, if I'm depressed and blue, and I decide I'm going to go to the beach.
Yeah.
I take my shoes off and I walk on the sand.
All
and
that
I'm out in the
negative
sun.
ion
About
energy.
20 minutes,
Yeah.
I'm in a different state.
Yeah.
And what did I do? Because there's, and we act like, oh, that's breathing, whatever, all these things. Like there's nothing to that. And I'm like, yet people know that like I go to the beach and I feel better and I come back from my vacation. I'm happier. I'm more upbeat. I'm more positive flow. If I stay inside and lay in my bed.
The beach is so magic, isn't it? I love the beach.
So those things matter, but the mitochondria, supporting that and helping it function the best, and that's how you detox. But light, there's light. And sound frequencies, we're seeing a lot of therapies more and more, like we use it in kidney stones, we're using it in regenerative things. We use it in ED and in some joints and different things, breaking up tissue, energizing things. You're seeing some really cool therapies using sound and light to move energy and help shift and change things in the body.
I love that. It's so important, the light. And our mantra, my body is light.
Yeah.
Just even visualizing, because, as you're saying, as science found in the mitochondria, all the light that's conducting, and the atom in the cell is waiting for direction. It's waiting. And so you have that direction you can say. So bring in all the light you can with your mind and with a infrared bed and with a, shifts. Yeah, just shift and connect to it.
Just focusing
on the light.
What you focus on. There's a really cool study that looked at like sleep dysfunction.
Yeah.
And said that 73% of the reason why people did not sleep was because they believed they wouldn't. And so if you spend your day focused on, I'm such a horrible sleeper, I got this huge test tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't sleep, or I got this presentation, I never sleep. I'm the worst sleeper. I just don't sleep. I'm like, and you're so worried about it. You've put so much energy into focused on not sleeping that you don't.
Yeah.
And so I can say, maybe you have nutrient deficiencies or maybe a prescription drug or whatever, and try to knock you out or try to give you what your body needs.
Yeah.
But you can override it. It's the placebo effect that happens with all medicine. All studies have a placebo arm. And that placebo arm, even in stage 4 cancer, there's a percentage of people that get well. And they get well because they believe they took something and believed they could.
Yep.
And the focus and the thought that you can get well is really what you need in order for you to shift. But if I'm depressed and anxious and I think there's no hope and there's no way, there's nothing I can do to get back to be healthier, to be better, or make a difference, and I just give up, then that's what you picked. And you create more of that.
That's what the cells are going to do.
And that's how everything in your body starts to go toward that. And you create more of that. If I focus on lack or not having enough, I just create more of that.
Yeah.
And so it's like if I have scarcity and I don't think there's enough and I don't think that's what I have.
That's what will happen. But if you believe you're abundant and you believe everything's working for you,
and whether you're doing that consciously or subconsciously, we all do that.
Yeah.
So if you want to shift, you have to shift your thoughts and really start focusing in on those thoughts. And if truly parasites is a piece of that I can get rid of parasites and decrease the chatter in my head.
Right.
Well, goodness, I can maybe get my head above water and get out of this muck.
Yes.
Of this thing and change my experience.
Yeah.
I could be more. So much more. So many people live so below their gifts and talents.
Yeah,
So below.
It's everywhere. I'm like, oh, everyone is so magical and they don't even know it.
No.
And then we just got to help show them. And one little podcast at a time, huh?
Right.
You're all magical. And I think that it really does speak volumes when you're able to go into your mind, see the thought patterns that aren't working, just consciously shift them because they are neurohacked by parasites. So if you can make sure that you're the one consciously creating the pathways, the parasites will die. They won't have any place to thrive if you're conscious in your systems, in your body, your mind, and what's happening in there. So good. So good. Yeah. Frequency. Attuning and parasites. Okay. Yeah. How many clients do you work with every day? Like, what's your average?
I probably see maybe one or two a day.
Okay.
I'm not super.
Yeah.
I've done lots more, but I don't know. And I usually direct. I'm good at kind of like educating and pointing somebody and getting people. I'm super connected. I do mastermind groups and do a lot of things in the community, and have the magazine and things. And so I know lots of people with lots of therapies. And so I'm pretty good at pushing people to different things of what I feel like is going to serve them best.
Perfect.
I've gotten better. I'm kind of like fire hoser because I tell somebody like, all these things. I want to tell them, you talk to me and I can be overwhelming because just even what we've talked about today. Yeah. If nobody's ever heard any of those things, you're like, I don't even know where to start. I'm overwhelmed. Where do we begin?
What do you feel like the best therapy is better for people? And overall, because I know everyone's different, right? You can't just say, well, but overall, what have you found the best therapy to be for people who are looking to change and looking for relief?
Something that can help show you awareness. So it's like something that makes you think out, just look at something different. Yeah. And even if you just have that, I feel like a lot of times I feel like all I am is I'm just coaching somebody to have hope. Yeah. So whatever that is, and whether or not you finding it, I just want people to get well. Yeah. I do think, if I start to believe in something, so it's like if I believe in Jesus, I'm like, I can find hope. Right. And if I believe in, some people, it might be something completely different. And it's like, and a lot of times we think, it's like, well, you don't believe in Jesus? Like you're not like me. And I think, well, I don't know if they're moving and Buddha's guiding them or whatever. I'm kind of like, well, like I'm excited that you're moving in the direction that you're moving toward light, or you're getting in a more positive direction. Yeah. So I'm not necessarily, and it's allowed me to pull back and look at things and be kind of like, well, do people get well? And in studies, what I want to see is that more people got well in the therapy than they did in the placebo, because everything has a placebo arm where 20% of people are going to get better because they believed in whatever it is that you're doing. Yes. So the medicine or drug or therapy has to be better than that. Okay. And so,
Very
but
good.
As a clinician, you do see if, so like parasite cleansing. Yeah. I haven't had anybody do it that's really done it. Okay. Not say that it hasn't been a positive experience or they haven't had a thing. So then you're like thinking it's more than the placebo effect. It's not just a few. Yeah. But I see, sometimes you see an MLM and and you start talking to people and it's like 1 in 5 people seem to have a positive benefit. Well, it's probably there's a placebo effect. It's really not, doesn't have what it says, or there's really not something in there, or it's really not that impactful. And I'm always like, let's start with the basics. I'm like, so many people are just so deficient in just simple things. I'm like, let's just do some basic nutrition and basic things first before I do some weird herb or some weird crazy thing. Let's just start supporting the body and giving it what it needs. Yeah. If I've got invaders, I should probably get rid of some of them just so that what I'm doing is more impactful. Yeah. It can make you get there faster, but it's the end. At the end of it all, it's the small little things that we add up. The thing that's been probably the most impactful for me is just meditation. Probably is going in every day consistently with an intention to be better. Yeah. And to actually ask God, what is the next thing in my life that's going to make me better? And I usually say who is it in my life that needs help that I can serve? Because I find beautiful. As I serve, I learn from the person. Yeah. And that's how I find out about things and know about things. And so I'm looking for opportunities to connect with somebody, to serve, and to move how do I get better each day? Yeah. And as I've done that over the last several years, that consistency has helped me navigate a lot of things. And I've gone through hard things. You still get trials and weird stuff and stuff you think like, oh, did I bring this in? Like, what am I doing?
But now you have the tools to move through.
But I can move through it. I know that, you know, and some of those things I know, I feel like I've gone through hard things, but I'm better because of it. And I'm not going to get stuck in the woe is me victim.
Yeah.
That's
good. And we don't play victim here. No. Yeah. No. Okay, good. Okay. I love that. Amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, I brought you moringa.
Oh.
Moringa.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I love it.
A moringa tincture. Extra vitamin C.
Love it.
Yeah. You're doing
I love
good.
what you're doing.
Thank you.
I really do.
Thank you.
It's fun to see people find paths to wellness. And
yes.
It's
so important to me.
Bringing awareness and educating and doing that is a huge part.
Yeah.
And so it's cool. It's cool to see.
I love that we have that in common. Pathways to wellness. Let's figure you out. Let's help you heal. Because I know if I can do it, anybody can.
Yeah.
So, oh, so good. Yeah. Thanks for being on the podcast. And
thanks for having me.
I look forward to when you do the third round. Yeah.
We'll talk.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll come do some colonics. And I'm for sure going to do the light bed again.
All right. And the new colonic space, we have 3 beds going. It's so much nicer.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're opening. Are you open? Or when are you?
We are officially open, but we are taking appointments all day. But we haven't officially opened our doors to the public yet. Just still
soon.
The little touches, the couch still hasn't arrived and the certain things.
That's cool.
And it'll be good.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Because you're right on Sunset.
Right on Sunset, Sunset Boulevard, Sanctuary Holistic Wellness. And you can come in, do the 10-day detox, do colonics every day, do the light spectre bed. The light spectre bed is already just the thing that's being booked out tons. And we have a really high tech quality bioscanner, very detailed. And so we can scan you, see what's going on within the systems of your body, and then put you on the spectre bed with the right frequency therapies that you need from the bioscanning. And then we have a massage room. We'll do foot zoning, massage, and therapy work. Yeah. It'll be so good. Thank you.
Love it.
Yeah. So good. Thank you for being here.